It may be a bit glib, but there's an element of truth to say that Viagra is keeping the Irish economy's head above water. The export sector is one of our few remaining bright spots, and within it, the pharmaceutical industry dominates. 6 of the top 10 selling drugs in the world are made here, and pharma now employs about 24,000 people directly. One of the Irish firms who is supplying big pharma here is the Carl Stuart Group, and I'm joined in studio now by its technical director, Kevin Arthure. Kevin, welcome to the show. I understand you're in the business of supplying products such as chemicals and related services to local pharmaceutical plants. But Kevin, could you tell us what size is the business?
Carl Stuart Limited is a small enterprise, Irish-owned and Irish-grown. Mm-hmm. It is based in Tallaght, and it has provided a service to the pharma industry and other Irish industries for the last 26 years. It was founded by Stuart and Gillian Smith about 26 years ago, 1984, and it has grown year on year since then by investing in its personnel and investing in its services. From that, we have built now to date to about 35 personnel in the company, and we are expanding year on year.
Okay, so you're around quite a while. You've been through, I suppose, a few other tough times. Then this is not the first recession you've seen your way through. But I mean, how are things? How's the business going at the moment? I mean, has it been hit badly?
At this point in time, yes. The business itself would be this would be the longest time we have seen the dip. We've seen dips over the years. That's fair enough. But this would be the longest dip we've seen. And of course, it has affected our business. It's affected our business in a positive way and also a negative way. A negative way in the sense that competition has now increased dramatically, so sales of goods have reduced due to margins have been squeezed left and right, and sometimes when you're competing with a lot of large multinational companies, that they would exist on margins that we can't exist on because we're a small company, and that sometimes prices you completely out of the market because there's no point in selling something if you're not going to make money to invest back into the company. On the positive side, though, is that the same large companies are also in a situation where the recession is hitting them, and they are looking for value for money, so they are coming to us because we can provide good value as regards to our services that we provide. On maybe not the product, because on a product you're relying on a manufacturer to supply you with a margin, but on a service you're relying purely on manpower and skill.
And you've invested quite heavily, I understand, recently in a new accreditation which you believe will help you win a lot of new business and is based around the services side of the business, is it? The
accreditation, yes. What it is that, well, our company predominantly was a sales-driven company in its early stages. It has now kind of evolved a little bit into a different direction because, like the market changes, the company has to be flexible enough to change with the market. And in a service industry, an ISO 9000 type standard is not necessarily an acceptable standard to provide a service. Okay, it's not a critical standard on the personnel or on the actual service you provide. So the 17025 standard is an internationally recognised standard, which is, again, you have to have your systems in place, you have to have your procedures in place. But the dimension that it brings to it is that the key word is competency. It looks for competency and proof of competency. Therefore, if we have an engineer that's going out to provide a service to a customer, we have to have trained him correctly. We have to have proven that he is competent to carry out these services. And with that, then, we can fly our INAB accredited 7025 standard. Other companies that would not have the standard, they can send out anybody. They're not assessed whether they're competent to carry out the test. That's the big difference with this standard. Okay. Competency.
And obviously, we're hearing a lot at the moment about, the export sector in Ireland, and particularly the pharma sector driving that. So, I mean, clearly there's a lot of business still to be won for you guys servicing the local pharma companies.
Yes. The pharma companies, again, would provide an outlet for our services because, as they would be one of the larger employers in this country. And the pharma sector, I think, is not looked upon as an Irish sector, really. If you ask anybody on the street what's our biggest export, they'll probably say, cattle or people or one of those things. But in reality, it's fine chemicals. All right, big containers of fine chemicals going off around the world to be made into whatever products, all right? And there's a couple of products that are world leader products that we all know about. that are always in the papers and stuff like that. And we provide the fine chemicals to make those products. That industry has provided direct employment, but more importantly, indirect employment to, I don't know how you would quantify it, but you take it out of that industry and I tell we would be in an awful...
I've seen the figure of 25,000 mentioned as indirect employment.
I would say that's only a small part. If you look at all the small indigenous companies that are providing stainless steel services, calibration services, engineering services to all these large process factories, to put a word on it, you take the fine chemical industry out of Cork and all you end up with is a tourist town because there's nothing else there.
And by the sounds of things, I mean, you're an indigenous Irish company, you're getting out there and being innovative yourself. But I mean, if there was, do you think the government is doing enough to, I suppose, to help firms like you? Because I know you've said to me that there's, they do a lot to help the multinationals, but maybe not so much for people like yourselves.
What we find is that to develop companies, you have to invest in training, you have to invest in people, you have to invest in research and development of products or services. There is opportunities out there for investment from Enterprise Ireland in various guises. What we find is that we have taken up some grant support for research and development on some of our products that we're developing, and the amount of paperwork involved to get 30% grant of some sort or other outweighs sometimes the amount of resources you can apply to it, because you end up with, say, 1 day a week is paperwork purely to qualify for the grant, whereas that 1 day a week is 1 day a week away from our research and development work. All right, so we find it quite laborious, and having to fill out timesheets and stuff like that just to prove you were there on the day. That's quite administrative cost is quite high for that.
So cut the red tape. Well, listen, it sounds like, Kevin, you've managed to get through previous tough times. You'll get through the current ones, and you're hoping to grow your way out of this one.
Like all small Irish indigenous companies, we are all struggling to survive. The main key point here is we're not a multinational. We can turn on a sixpence. We are flexible. That's what the market is asking us to do. That's what we have to do to survive, and we will survive. But I think, in fairness, that the government should recognise that the SMEs of this country are the key employers of this company. They're the people that will come up with the innovation. They will come up with the new businesses. They mightn't be the 1,000 employees in 5 years that makes the headlines, but you add 1,000 SMEs and you end up with quite a large employment structure there. So I think the government should kind of focus a little bit more on inward investment on research and development and support the SME that are carrying out research and development.
Okay, well, Kevin, thanks for your time.
Thanks, John.